In the winter of 1862 to 1863, Union Commander Ulysses S. Grant made a failed attempt to take over Vicksburg, Mississippi. This event marked the beginning of a military campaign that would shape the outcome of the Civil War. The Siege of Vicksburg, which would soon be known as one of the Union's most successful campaigns in the Civil War. Come springtime, Grant gathered his men and supplies. Soon, he will lead an elaborate military plan to capture Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Grant had tried almost everything he could in order to force the Confederates out of Vicksburg. He ordered an assault on the Confederate army north of Vicksburg by Chickasaw Bluffs. For months, he tried digging canals in the river to the west.
All without any success.
Finally, Grant realized, if he could not just force an attack on one direction, he would force an attack on every direction.
Grant's plan was to utilize the Union Navy and Army to converge on Vicksburg, trapping the Confederate Army. Grant ordered his men to create distractions up north while a naval fleet transports more than 24,000 men and 60 guns to the south of Vicksburg.
This was the largest naval operation prior to World War II. The naval fleet effortlessly deployed their onboard men by Fort Gibson and the Grand Gulf, with very few competition.
After crossing the river to Mississippi, the Union Army was about 45,000 men strong. They were ready to move into Vicksburg, but first, Grant ordered a march to Jackson, Mississippi.
The Union Army outnumbered the Confederate Army by almost double, and the army in Jackson by 9 times. And they were only starting to gather other men.
On the way to Jackson, Grant was met with a troubling situation.
Grant's army ran into an unsuspecting barrage in Raymond, a few miles west of Jackson on May 12th. Eventually, the Confederates retreated after a few hours of confused fighting. Jackson's 6,000 men also retreated.
In an attempt to stop the Union Army from proceeding, Pemberton took 17,500 men to find and cut the Union supply line, leaving 9,000 at Vicksburg. Instead, they were cut off, resulting in the Battle of Champions Hill. Pemberton withdrew, splitting Pemberton's army and forcing them away from Vicksburg.
The Union also confronted another Southern army at Big Black River Bridge. The Union had outsmarted them and was able to continue into Vicksburg with only 30,000 men stationed to defend.
May 19, William T. Sherman led his men to attack along the northeast edge of town, without success. 3 days later, Sherman led another similar attack, this time with other coordinated attacks.
William T. Sherman from the north, Major General James McPherson from the west, and Major General John McClernand from the south. The Confederate Army was surrounded, but had the high ground, and was able to successfully defend against all attacks.
Grant had no other option but to cut off all supply lines into Vicksburg, what would be known as a classic example of siege warfare.
For weeks, they dug trenches and zigzagged their way closer to the town. They used bombs and mines to breach the Confederate defenses. Artillery shells were being fired around the town. Bullets were being shot from the coast. It was very violent.
Food, ammunition, and other supplies were dwindling. Soldiers and citizens began killing and eating horses, dogs, cats, and even rats.
Give me some Chinese food. The Southerners had no chance of fighting their way out. Death was imminent. Food. I need my food.
Finally, Pemberton rode out and discussed surrender terms with Grant. On the 4th of July, the Union had secured their victory. With about 19,233 total casualties and 9,091 from the Southerners, the Confederacy was effectively split in half.
The loss of Pemberton's army was an extreme devastation to the Confederacy. In fact, the Confederate government had lost trust in Pemberton, resulting in his resignation. The entire Confederacy was split into the West and the East. This battle was a huge turning point for the Union Army.
Even with the defeat of the last Confederate stronghold on the Mississippi River, only a day after the Union victory in Gettysburg, the Civil War had a long way to go.